putting it on mine.
Hey, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser. So happy to have you here today. And in a sense, I'm going solo, but I actually have an awesome guest with me today. And we're going to have a great conversation about navigating life, loneliness, faith after loss. Welcome. My name is Lorraine Edwards. I am co-founder of A Single Mission, a business ministry that was created to help single women embrace their singleness, walk in purpose, and prepare for the partner they desire. And on this platform, we are just wanting to share different experiences, give you wisdom from different perspectives. Our theme for this series is hindsight, because we're talking about when people are looking back, what wisdom can they then share with you from their own experiences? And so today I have a friend of mine that I'm very excited to have on here, but the topic is sobering. And so you might want to get your tissues. I already got mine. Because we are talking about death. We're talking about loss. And I would like to welcome my friend, Julene Kapao. And I want to just tell you a little bit about her. So in 2020, I went to New Zealand as a missionary. And I arrived on January 17th, their January 17th, not ours, because we are about 18 hours apart. And I went to church. This isn't Julene. And I wore this because this is the first thing I had on when I met Julene. I got there on Friday. This is Sabbath, went to church. And this is one of Julene's best friends and turned out to be one of mine as well. And we went to we went to Tracy's house, and we had Sabbath dinner. And this is some of the other deans that were there. And I don't know who took this picture. It feels like it could have been Julene, actually, but we had one where we smiled, but they told us to act like we were mad, and obviously we were failing, or we were failing miserably. But that was the first time that I met Julene, and it would not be the last.
Yeah,
because for that I was there for a whole year, and being in New Zealand was great, except when being in New Zealand wasn't great. And Julene and Tracy, who's in the other pictures, they really were my people. They carried me in difficult times. They cried with me. They helped me. They supported me. They encouraged me. They lifted me up. And because there were some rough times there. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that, Julene. What a blessing. And so last year, in 2022, I went to visit New Zealand and watch some of my girls graduate. I was a dean in the academy there. They call it college, but for us, it's in the United States, it's academy or high school. And I surprised them what to, except one friend, and talk about another person who knew. But so I go there, and at this point, Julene's husband had passed, and she's going to tell you that story shortly. But so Mrs. Henry, who was my boss at the time, always up for some fun. I was like, well, let's go surprise her. She doesn't live in New Zealand. I mean,
At work.
I had no idea. And I said, let's go surprise her. So we went to her job and we got there and she wasn't there.
I was getting food.
They were like, oh, you just missed her. I'm like, no, this can't be. So they were like, oh, she should be back in about an hour. So we went and just kind of piddled around a little bit. And we came back and Julene was sitting in the lobby with her back to the outside. She was talking to one of her coworkers and Mrs. Henry walks in and she's like, oh, nice. And then I walk in and she looks at me and she's just like, her brain is like, I don't understand. Like you can see everything on her face because she's like I know this person, but she doesn't live here. What does she do? Like she couldn't process.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we didn't get a picture of it because that's what we wanted to get a picture of your face. And so Mrs. Henry gave us a chance to talk because it was my first time seeing you since Aurora passed. And the thing that you said to me that just resonated to this day, you were just like, I'm just trying to learn how to do life again as a single person.
Yeah.
And like most of my ministry is about serving single people. I've never been married, so I'm single in a different way. But like when you framed it, I started just thinking about that. And I think I might have even said, like I didn't even have the YouTube channel then. I had the channel, but I wasn't doing anything with it. Let me just say that. But I was planning to, because I actually started in January. But I said, when you're ready, I would love to talk more about that. Now, you probably didn't think it would be on a worldwide streaming live to YouTube and Facebook, and people probably all over the world at this point, I know are watching. But I'm so grateful that you said yes because there's so many people who are experiencing loss, not just of a spouse, but this loss of a spouse is just kind of a different level, different kind. I'm not ranking in hierarchy, but it's just a different kind because it's a different kind of intimacy, a covenant. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and all of us. Please get in the comments, talk to us, let us know what your thoughts are. And hey, Susan, hi. Thank you, Susan. Susan is our biggest fan.
Oh, yay, Susan.
She says, welcome to you, Julene.
Yay.
So I asked Julene to share some of like kind of the terms that they use in New Zealand around death and dying and family and that whole process. And so I'm going to put them on the screen and she's going to just talk a little bit about it. And then she's going to jump in and then share her story. So.
Cool. Okay, so katoa. Called Julene Ho. So that's welcome. Hello to everyone. My name is Julene. So a lot of people might not know, but New Zealand is English is not the main language. It is one of them. But Te Reo Māori is our Indigenous language, which is, so we're a bicultural place. So Te Reo Māori is used consistently across everything. Mm-hmm. So as well as Pacific languages. So Cook Island, Samoan, Tongan, etc. So kia ora is hello, and we've got lots. Ora itself, O-R-A, is wellness. So it's just like I wish you wellness. So when you say hello to someone, it's never just yo. It's actually I hope you're well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So Tangi is I begin to understand Tangi. Tangi is literally the definition is to cry. So like if you watch a sad show, you're like, oh, tangi, like you just cry at the show or whatever. But it is our word for funeral. It is the formal, whether it be 1 day to 3 days, 6 days, that's the funeral process that goes over time. And we would talk about tangihanga, which is the process. It's the grammar, anga, A-N-G-A, you add that onto any noun in Te Reo Māori and it becomes a verb. So it's a doing. So it is something you do with people. Yeah. So tangi and tangihanga, so which is what we had for my husband. Right. So the Puraki is a part of the tangi process, but it's also something you can do at any stage in your life with anyone. So the Puraki is a farewell process. So you, like, if you've had visitors at your home and before they leave, you sit and you honor them and you thank them for coming and sharing food with you, and you have this farewell process. So the Puraki was the night before we actually had the formal funeral and buried Roru. So it's also called the family service. That's the more a Cook Island Māori phrase, but it's the night before. It's where you tell all the stories. It's where all the good stuff comes out. Often where you hear what their real name is or their name on their birth certificate and passport, but you never knew that because and it's just and where you have music and sharing. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. Whanau. So Whanau is quite specifically it's family. But what I learned very early on in my journey here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is that it does not have to be biological. So we do a lot of inter-whanau adoption, which is called whangai, when you like foster a child and raise them as yours. So whanau is, it's the people who are your people.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it. No.
Yeah. So family service is more the word used within a Pacific Puraki. Yeah. Whakatau. So you probably have seen that WH in Te Reo Māori makes the F sound. You got to get familiar and comfortable with that. So yeah, that whakatau is when something has been disrupted in your world, your home, a death, a tragedy of some sort, when you return into when you step into the next thing, so return to work, you're wanting to return to life, like life's going to return to normal. A whakatau process it's done very differently everywhere. It can be formal, it can be informal, and always finishes with food, which, come on. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I think.
Yes, so your cookies, biscuits, and cup of tea, but sometimes you have a full spread of kai or food, because it is the way in which we kind of solidify that, okay, we're stepping into the new whakatau process. Like I did that at my work before I went back to work. I started having conversations about returning to work. They brought me in, Tracy and Taupo, and my kids, just to honor that we have been through a horrific speed bump in life. And it's also probably the most tangible extension of love, of aroha, of where we've got you. We don't know exactly what you're going to need over the next few weeks, months, but we've got you. So yeah, it can be, it's actually pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the final one.
Oh, so waiata is song. You would say specifically around a Te Reo Māori song where the words are not English, but anything. But you can also, to waiata is to sing. And tangihanga and the funeral week was just so full of singing, laughing, crying. Yeah, all that goodness and ugliness.
I love it. I think that is probably a good wrap of what we're going to talk about, the goodness and the ugliness.
Yes.
So, Julene, tell us.
When I see it, yeah.
I turn the floor over to you, my friend.
Oh. Well, I love this photo. Thank you. Thank you. I love this photo for a lot of reasons. This is not the last photo we took together. I do love that photo. 3 days before he passed, we took this really cool photo. But this one was New Year's Eve at Foxton Beach. We were there with a few families that we were connected with. And yeah, just like taking photos. And this photo just captures my beautiful husband, my tane, my man. He was just, there was very few times that he was not smiling. Full of cheekiness, humor, just so full of life. And I know that everyone who knew him and had the opportunity to just walk with him were like, man, this guy is the coolest. And that's why I love this photo. A friend of mine got it. She did an art piece of this photo. I love it because we just, it's a happy moment. And we had a lot of them. Yeah.
So how did you all meet?
Right. So the Adventist Church has a lot to say about sending young people away as volunteers around the world. Pretty sure my dad said, you're going at, you're like 21, 22. I don't remember, 22. Don't go get married. And I'm like, note to self, never tell your kids don't do something. I came to New Zealand in 2001 as a volunteer for the youth department for the NZPUC, New Zealand Pacific Union Conference, Polynesia, or like New Caledonia, Cook Islands, etc. Met Rodu very early on in my time in New Zealand. I can't say I fell in love instantly. He was mocking me. He was teasing me. He became the next 20 years of my life. But I was drawn to his great hair and great voice, really, I'll be honest. And he played basketball. So I followed him around, kind of finding opportunities to watch him play sport. So I came for a year, started dating probably the next year, had a whirlwind romance and got married a year later. So settled in New Zealand, became a full permanent resident. We were offered work at Longbourn Adventist College, where you then came years later. Yeah. He went as one of the hostel boys' deans, and I taught in the high school. We had our babies there. And yeah, like LAC and our life was very much ingrained in Palmerston North. I wanted to raise my kids in Palmerston North, so knowing that they are of Cook Island heritage and American heritage, I wanted them to be around lots of other people who shared that sort of journey, and so they and it worked. It was awesome. We have been hugely blessed living in Palmy. So
how long were you all married?
So just shy of 20 years. No. Yes, no, it was just shy. We had just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary in July 6th. I always get it wrong. July 6th, because I always say July 7, but it is July 6th. 2022 was our 19th wedding anniversary. And yeah, we were pretty excited about doing 20 years. You know, we're like, man, this has been a lag. This has been 20 years is a long time, and what's happened. And I think we were reflecting for that time around how we had grown as people, you know, as parents. So we've got 3 kids. He has an older son, Te Aukura, or Chucks, we call him Chucky. So Chucky is, I won't say his age. He'll be embarrassed. He's not young. He's not a little boy anymore. He's got his own kid. And then we have 2 of our own. So Griffin, he's 18, and Gwendolyn, she's 15. Yeah, so we have our 3 kids. I don't know. I can't remember the other question you asked, but 19 years. Yeah. So we have those 3 kids, grandson, and hundreds of nieces and nephews, biological and not, who have been in and out of our home. Did some fostering for a little time. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows where the hidden key is. It's not hidden. There's someone who has a copy of the hidden key, and they're like 5 hours away, and they message me going, "Oh, I still got your key. Keep it for next time." Yeah, so our home has never been quiet. There's guitars, there's Xbox, there's food. Yeah. And hot drinks.
Yes. Always hot drinks in New Zealand.
Yep.
So, great love story. Obviously, marriage comes with its challenges. So there's ups, there's downs, there's craziness, there's fun, there's laughter, there's tears, there's all of that.
Yeah.
And you celebrate 19 years in July 6th of 2022. And then what happened?
So, how many days later was it? Oh, it's about 3 weeks later. So a lot happened in that short time. We laid to rest the ashes of a very good friend who had passed away during COVID, not of COVID, but during COVID. And that Sunday evening, he just got a chill. He was really unwell. Teasing him about the man flu, but it actually didn't pass. We were supposed to travel 2 days later up to Hamilton, and made the decision that he would need to stay. I would go with the basketball team to Hamilton and, follow them, and we'd just stay in touch that week. He just didn't get better. It was like he kept testing for COVID. It was negative, but he's like, man, I have never felt this wiped out. So got home, he didn't look 100%, but just kind of that gray, kind of tired, fatigued. And honestly, we were joking. I'm like, man, you're getting old, man. You're nearly 50. Like, we're not young anymore. Why do you, because the reality is we always, we joked, and yeah, we didn't always get along, but we joked heaps about stuff. The 30th, Saturday, this was the 30th of July. My son had been in an emergency room the night before. It was chaotic, busy as normal, like life with teenagers. That Sunday morning, the 31st, was the first day of Cook Island Language Week. So we honor the Pacifica languages in New Zealand. They have a whole week. So first thing that Sunday morning, we went to the square, and it was the raising of the Cook Island flag, which was really great. It was awesome. I had told him, we're going to be Cook Islanders this week. We're going to do everything. We had errands to run. Bought a new mailbox, and he put the mailbox up, just normal Sunday as a couple, The last thing we talked about was he come down the hall, and he said, I'm going to head off to basketball. I'm going to see if Griffin wants to go. So Griffin doesn't always go to Rory's basketball because that's Rory's. That's his dad's thing. And, they're his mates that he's played with for years. But this time Griffin was like, yeah, I'll go, Dad. So I'm starting to make dinner, and I just all right, see you, babe. I'm going to make tea. I'll see you when you come home. Yeah. And I can't remember the specific times. It's all become just, I got a phone call from Griffin saying, Mum, Dad's had an accident. And I kind of went, oh, what, did he trip? I'm like, what happened in the car? And he's like, no, Mum, he fell. And then he hung up. And I'm like, oh, shivers, that doesn't sound good. Like, do I need to go out? So Gwen and I just start getting our stuff together. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll just cover a tea and then we'll get in the car. We'll go out to LAC. It's maybe a 7-minute drive, Then Griffin rings back and he's a little bit more panicked this time and says, come, you need to come now, Mum. He's not getting up. My brain did not resonate at all what that even meant. So I hop in the car, we start going down one of the main roads that's heading out of town. And in my rearview mirror, I see lights. I see police, fire, ambulance. And I pull over and I say to Gwenny, that's for Dad. I just knew it. So we pulled over, let them pass, pulled in behind them, and went 110 to LAC. I don't remember parking. I remember just Griffin runs to the car. He's pulling me in. I walk into the gym. So this is a gym I've been in hundreds of times. Walk in the gym, and everything just went into slow motion. I'm looking around, and that's one thing I'm grateful for. I noticed the people that were there, the people that love him. And he was on the floor, and a friend had that he plays with had been giving him CPR, had just stepped away, and the ambulance crew was coming in, and actually the fire department was there first, maybe, and then just went to his side, and he never spoke again. Like he that was it. They worked on him for a long time, probably longer than they needed to. Because there was this not an audience, but I feel they were really, they really did try. I remember one man, I was still in this total daze, like, okay, he'll be okay. And the lead medic said, are you the wife? And I says, yep. And he goes, your husband is fighting the fight of his life and he probably won't make it. And I was like, I heard him, and in hindsight, so incredibly grateful. He didn't say, all right, so we're going to do this and we're going to take him, fly him to Wellington. He was just like straight up honest. So no, just that was it. I knew it. I'm like, yep, I know. That's right. He's not going to make it. And then he said, does your husband have any health issues? And I'm like, okay, in New Zealand, probably similar to the US, like you have these risk factors. So I was like, he has like all the risk factors. He's male. he's over 40. He's Pacifica. So this is every one of these is a tick. And he's overweight. He's active, but he's overweight. And the guy's like, okay, yep, okay. Towards the end, they said, we're just going to put him on the gurney thing and take him out to the ambulance. So we went out. Gwen hadn't come in the gym, so she joined us. They asked for just the immediate family, and we went in, and they closed the door and pronounced him. And it was horrible because what do? You're going home.
So we've seen these kinds of scenes on TV, and maybe some other people watching may have experienced, but like, what is that even like? Like, what do you do? Like you said, you don't feel, you're kind of in a daze, but like, what happens next?
I think, part of,
you're making tea and then someone's pronouncing your husband.
Well, like your brain goes into weird spaces. When we did get back home, I'm like, well, I've got chicken. Who's going to take the chicken? Are we going to eat it? I'm not going to eat. I don't even feel like eating. So there was you know, go back to being at LAC, we now have Rhodey's car, we've got my car. But what has happened within our community, Griffin's been messaging friends. I literally, while I'm sitting by his side, I'm messaging my 2 work besties. So Morgan and Corey, the 3 of us worked in alternative education classroom. We're tight. I am messaging them and I'm like, Rhodey's had a heart attack. He's at basketball. I'm with him. He's not going to make it. When and Tracy and Taupo, they were there, and the boys, everyone arrived. Like it's almost like the message went out, and our people came. Pastors from the churches, from the Cook Island community, from my work. At this stage, my biggest thing was I've got to let his work know. Like, not that he's not going to make it. He's not going to be ever there again. Like it was, I didn't even know I didn't have anyone's phone number. So I look at one friend and I'm like, you're connected to his work. Can you sort that out? And Neil's like, I got you, sis, done, sorted. By the time we arrived, Tracy said, I'll drive you home. I don't even know who drove the cars home. I think Griffin drove a car home. We arrive, walk in, and we all just slumped. We're like, probably a bit just numb, totally numb. Nobody can take the lead. Nobody. I've been on the phone with his cousins. They're just hugely distraught. I've been on the phone with his sister and parents. They're on their way from Hawke's Bay, which is 2 hours away. I messaged them partway through their trip saying it's done, you know, he's pronounced. They're still about, 45 minutes away. Arrive home, and people just start coming. All my workmates, all my workmates fill the lounge. Our friends are close, our people here in Palmy. And then all of the basketball team starts arriving with their parents. So there's these giant kids. Now, just sidestep that the reason they weren't just here to support us and the kid, their mate Griffin, but Rhodey was Uncle Rhodey. He was at every game, every one of their little uniqueness on the court. He was a lover of basketball, but just an amazing supporter of people and young people. So these boys, these young men were wrecked. They were in tears. They were heartbroken for one of their besties, but also losing an uncle. And for many of them, it was the first loss they had experienced that was really close.
Right.
Yeah. So our house was packed, and then my in-laws arrived, and they actually had no idea that what they were stepping into. They were stunned.
At all of the people who were there?
All of the people.
Wow.
So apparently on their way over, there was conversation around, right, where are we going to have the funeral? Where are we going to do the Tangi, really? So the body comes home. Where's the body going to go? Where are we going to bury him? And all these conversations were happening on the way to Palmy. Then they walk in, and there was this realization that our home was Palmerston North. Our people, our communities, multiple, were here. And that this is where we would do everything. And, for him coming home and the whole tangihanga process would be here at our home.
I want to ask you about that, because, from my perspective, and a lot of what happened in that process was streamed. So I was watching on Facebook, and a lot of us don't have, most people don't have any clue what to do when someone dies, as far as how to walk with the family, the friends, or whatever through that process. And I want you to talk a little bit about what was good, what wasn't so good that people did, even in their attempts to like comfort and support. Like what was good, what was like, yeah, that, and what wasn't so great.
Yeah. First of all, one of the great things is that in Maori and Cook Island, Polynesian cultures, some of the things just happen. This is what you do. So Monday morning, I wake up. I must have slept, and I stumble out. If I backtrack, one of my besties from up in Taranaki, when I told her, she and her husband, who was Rodi's cousin, get in their car. They're down here. She arrives, and she doesn't leave my side. So she sleeps in the bed. She held my cell phone for me because, like, let's be honest, you don't need to be on your cell phone because you're getting like bombarded with love, but bombarded with messages. It's just, you're already totally emotionally drained and all that. So that was one of the best things ever, just to have, when you go from being two in a bed to that person's not there, they're gone, they're done, they're never going to have them in your bed again. So having someone in my bed, she could feed back to me like, do you know you were shaking? Do you know that you were like, not convulsing, but I could feel it because my muscles were like, I could feel the lactic acid, like just the stress, grief. Come out to make my coffee, look out the front to my window, and I'm going, oh, there's Morgan and Corey, so my work besties, and they're setting up the gazebos. They look sad. They look, these are men, and all they could do was do the practical things, set up the gazebos, put out the mats, start setting up the tables, because what's going to happen over the next few days is there will be hundreds of people that come through to offer their condolences, to sing, to cry, to laugh. And so they prepared that space with others as well. Men that Rodi had worked with, some ministries in town called Mission for Men. Got in the big barbecue. A beautiful family friend connected and delivered it's not a portaloo, it was a porta bathroom. Okay. Like a shower, a toilet. So we'd have a tiny house, one shower, one toilet. And there are now people flying from all over the world to come. Well, I say over the world, but my family, my brother and dad from the US, Rodi's family from Australia, the Cook Islands, and all around New Zealand. So
those were the good things. What
were
some things that maybe weren't so helpful? And we honor the fact that people are trying to help. They just don't know what to do. And so part of this conversation is really about helping people who are trying to help. Walk with someone through this level of grief and sorrow. And how do you do it? So what wasn't helpful?
To be fair, Lorraine, in that week, I was grateful for so many things in the moment. Someone came in and gave me a head massage and a hand massage. Like, that physical touch was just the most beautiful gift. In the week, I cannot say there was anything that was not helpful. I suppose there were individuals who could have been more vocal about the appropriate protocols around Cook Island funerals, because my sister-in-law, Margaret, and me, and our close friends, and some of our close friends like Tracy and Taupo came down with COVID that week. So, everyone's stepping in. COVID's still a thing.
But even going further for the whole year, like it doesn't have to just be, in that week. I know we've talked about a few things, but
I think that it's acknowledging that friendships change, it's relationships change, and there have been some really lonely moments and silence from people who I thought would have continued a meaningful connection, reaching out, and sometimes it's the absence of those voices, the absence of those people that makes me sad. I would rather the stumbling, kind of awkward, hey sis, I don't know what you need, but I've just brought you a 6-pack of Coke. Is that, I would rather, I'd rather something where I'll go, okay, that's cool. Because I know it's a gesture of love and care.
Right.
And that's the way I view everyone's attempts at connection, no matter how awkward or bumbly it might be. I think it is the silence from people who I thought you were my people.
Wow. That's actually pretty profound. And when we want to give everyone grace, and so we're not here not to do that. And we know there are people who are like, I wanted to say something, I didn't know what to say, I felt so bad, I was like, and I didn't know, like I was hurting, I didn't want to put that on her. And sometimes I have a friend whose husband passed the same month as actually at the beginning, and it was just like, because of his presence, and he had so many people that loved him, just like Roru, that it almost felt like she was having to console other people, and not and so I don't know if you ever felt like that, like other people's grief was taking over yours.
Oh, look, I think, I could easily say yes, 100%. Yeah, a lot of people, my grief triggered theirs. But in my trying to grasp that complexity, I do understand that when you walk closely with someone and you see them lose something extraordinary, like a child or a parent or a spouse, our human nature is to instantly feel, what would that feel like if it was me? So I don't criticize that. I have been at funerals where, someone's lost a child and I'm inconsolable because I could never imagine losing my child, one of my children. So I had a
statement, Julene. That was powerful and so true. So, oh wow.
I think it's okay, Lorraine. I think it's. I mean, like I said, we're just talking like it's. I'm a verbal processor, so I might go back and go, oh, weird.
That's what we're here
for. Grief is not a solo thing. So, of course you can go up to someone and cry. Oh, I can't believe Roru's gone. Oh my, and kind of like over the top, and you're like, okay, calm down. But at the same time, do you know what? I still bump into his manager. We both like to op shop, and we often bump into each other at op shops. That's like Salvation Army. Thrift stores.
Salvation Army,
And I'll bump into her. Every time she sees me, she gets teary. And the last time I saw her, this is well over a year, she said, oh gosh, Julene, every morning I miss Roru. And her acknowledging that doesn't make me feel like jealous, like, oh, you don't have any right to miss him. He's my husband.
Of course.
It actually makes me feel so incredibly blessed that this man of God, this beautiful, loving, godly man, impacted her life. So she still remembers his presence on a daily basis. So to me, it only makes me feel more blessed.
Wow.
I know we had situations where I needed to talk through with my kids that we need to verbalize that actually it's okay for other people to miss dad. It is okay for them to want to honor him in their own way. It doesn't take away from our loss. We lived with him 24/7. So, you know, his presence in the kitchen when we're trying to make dinner, or in the bathroom when we're all trying to get ready for the morning for church, or we miss him because he was a tangible presence in our life. Other people are missing his presence for different reasons.
To whatever extent. So a lot of times as we are walking through challenges, whatever they are, but certainly grief and loss, we can either kind of get bitter and bury ourselves in that, or some people find they learn from it, they grow from it. There's revelations, there's other purpose or something that comes. And what path have you hit? Can you talk a little bit about just kind of your journey of healing? Because the thing is, like, another reason that I asked you is because I've been watching you on Facebook. I've been following you on Facebook for this whole year. And I'm just watching how you process that. And we were talking yesterday, and I was just like, yo, some of the stuff she posted, like, I felt uncomfortable. I felt exposed, and I didn't have anything to do with it, but it was just like, but I'm like, but that was so cool because this is your journey. So can you talk a little bit about like why you chose to do that and came to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I often said that Facebook was made for Roru because he loved, like, every day his birthday shout outs and his like updates. He loved it. And Facebook actually created or provided the opportunity to share the funeral process and all those unique things. And it almost came in a way unexpectedly, but naturally. Within the few weeks of losing Roru, memories would pop up, or I would see photos, things would be triggered deep in my gut, and I chose to post them. My kids were having their own journeys and trying to engage in a school and what that looked like. And I didn't feel it was the appropriate space to like offload on my kids. So it was a kind of a safe way. I started just, honestly, I didn't think about it. And it wasn't I'm going to do this for the next 365 days.
Right.
But I just started posting different, either something I read or something that was triggered. So I think one of the first ones was, we're kind of going through things, and I had about 6 eyeglasses of his. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these? Right? I don't want them. I don't need them. Where can you drop them off anywhere? So I go into where he would get his glasses, and I asked them, well, I said, first of all, I need you to cancel his account because I just don't want to get an email or a text saying you're due for your eye check. And I'd be like, no, he's not here. So I canceled his, and the girl got really teary, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, that's okay, but I want to drop off the glasses. And she points me to this drop off box that they actually take these glasses, they go into our Pacifica island community, and these glasses then are given to someone who needs them. And I just was like, took a photo, and I guess I wanted to engage with, hey, like, just because we've lost, like, good can come. Here's what we can, I needed to find the good. Because the crushing, like, the pain was so real, like, I had to find the good. So that was one of my first posts that I remember. And then I made a lot of, I found where you could make different jewelry items. There's a great place in town. And so he had cufflinks. He just was a cufflink dude. He had just all these cufflinks. And I was like, right, those cufflinks I know were for, they were ladybugs. Those are for Gwen because she's our ladybug. I'm going to make those into earrings for her. Our big boy and me, I made a pendant for him and a ring for me out of a pair of cufflinks. And I just started doing stuff with not a real end in line. Pieces of him, not in this, and not in a weird spiritual, like, Rody was with me. It was just that I want to acknowledge him in my life. He is not, he's not gone. His memory has got to be, and who he was as a person. He made all of us better people just by being with him. So, yeah. And I just was sharing those things, and sometimes they were, I think one of the real natural things around grief is to remember the worst, to remember that last fight, to remember that mean thing you said. And let's be honest, I'll be honest, I did. Like, it was like, are you really just gonna put your socks right there again? Really? Like 20 years ago. And it's easy to focus on those, and I still do. I still do. There's moments where I cringe and think, I can't believe that conversation happened when it, or whatever it might be. But sometimes it was really important to me as well. Like, you can also, you can remember those bad moments, but also you can remember your person in all their glory. And like, it's almost this dichotomy, right? You can almost get sucked into your guilt, or you can get sucked into putting them into a
pedestal.
Yeah, into this unrealistic. So one day, one of my children and I were driving, and we're both kind of, like, oh, we miss Dad. And I'm like, right, let's just go through all the things that annoyed us about him. And then, we're driving, and after like the third stoplight, we're cracking up because, that was so annoying. Yeah, he did that. And it just kind of brought it back to, he was a real person. He's an amazing person, and he was an amazing father, but he was a real person. So yeah, and that was just part of the sharing that I would post on Facebook, and it was awesome. Some of the feedback, particularly from men, mates of his, and who it started, challenged them to be a little bit contemplative about their own story.
I love that. What was the most surprising thing about this loss that you were just like, whoa, even if you'd ever imagined losing him, like, you would never have thought, oh, wow, like, I didn't even think about that.
No. To be fair, probably it's been the last few months. So it's post that 1 year. I allowed myself to grieve like this whole time, and just to be in those ugly spaces. And I think it really was the a knowing, in the last couple months, that I am a single mum of teenagers who are about to leave the nest anyway. What is this? Who am I? Where does this leave me? I'm over the last year, I didn't really feel like single. Someone was being cheeky and said, "You're a single mum," and it makes me feel like I'm like a teen mum. And I'm like, no, I'm a mum of teens. I'm an old lady. And I was quite surprised of this all of a sudden feeling, wow, I don't know who I am. I have been Mrs. Kapao, Fire Julene, Rody's my husband, for 20 years. That's also been my entire, or majority of my time in New Zealand. Who am I now? And where do I fit? And how have my people changed? Should they change? What should change? And so I'm surprised to find myself now in a little bit of an uncomfortable space around moving forward.
And identity.
And doing that with dignity, with doing that, so honoring him, and in a way that my children can still hold their heads up about not only their father but their mother as well, as a single widow in 2023, and everything that looks like. And yeah, that's probably been a surprising awareness over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about just kind of the juxtaposition of you being single again and me being always single, like I've never been married. And even though, I guess from a 30,000 foot view, it's just like, oh, you're single and you're just, but like there's so much difference in your story versus my story of singleness. And I love this story that you just shared about just kind of like how as a couple, you all would be in church and you would be like the welcome team and whatever, but how that has changed. And if you would just share and talk about that, because I thought it seems like such a small thing, but it's kind of like the journey of loss, because there are things that you're just like, oh, I never even thought about that until now I have to think about that,
Look, it's you're right. We were a bit of a team, like, and not a right, you do this, I do that. But he would say, so I would take the message or the word at church, he would do the singing, right? That was just his thing. He goes, you talk, I sing, right? But we also, one of the things we did was hospitality was, is a big thing in our church community, but us as individuals. So when people would come into church, if it was a couple, or if there was someone with kids, I would always drawn to the children and, the mom or the woman. And Rodi was just that warm, gentle, go up to the man and be really great. And it wasn't always the case. But what kind of occurred to me post losing Rodi was that I no longer felt super comfortable to go up and greet a male person coming into, to the church community specifically in this case. Because all of a sudden I had these, oh, what if they think, or what if someone's watching and going, why is Julene doing that? Or she's supposed to be single, she's a widow. There's all of a sudden you have a layer of whether it be perceived judgment or actual. You're walking this line, and it's about integrity as well. But all of a sudden, instead of being, oh yeah, that's Julene, and she's just the friendly lady at church who talks to everyone, you're actually single, and so your movements and your response to other humanity can be misunderstood. Now, I don't know if that's just in my head, but it is a layer of, I think they call it metacognition. It's happening in my brain while I walk the world. Like, I don't want anyone, but maybe I do want someone to get the wrong. I don't know. It's a really different space to be in. Yes, you and I have discussed, I think one of the things we spoke about was that, you have embedded who you are, you've grown who you are as a single woman. We would say wahine toa, so a strong woman. You have built that over your lifetime. And in many ways, your singleness becomes a tool to do whatever you want, a freedom. total freedom.
Like go to New Zealand for a year as a missionary? Yeah.
Why not?
Why
Exactly.
not?
Exactly. You don't have to worry about now, this husband, what do I do with him? So in my, and so now I have gone from being a +1, being a, you know, always being aware of that relationship, to navigating solo parenting, solo income, and making decisions about my own future, which now lacks that other voice. And the
Yes.
yeah, it's quite different and complex.
Yeah. And I like when you just said that, when people ask me, you know, what's the hardest part about being single? There are a variety of answers, but my go-to answer is that I have to make every decision on my own.
Yes.
Because even if I get, like, your friends or your sister or even if I get advice, no one has buy-in to that decision. Like,
exactly.
The good, the bad, the ugly falls on me alone, and there's no one to like share that burden with. So every small decision to the hugest decisions that there are, I have to make those on my own. And even over the fact that I've lived my whole adult life that way, that's still hard. So I can't even imagine, like, when you've always had, for your whole adult life, really, you've always had that partner to say, hey, what do you think? Let's do, and they know more about this stuff and you know more about that, and you can share and whatever, and the kids and all of that. And now you're just like, okay, well, I mean, I can take what I've learned from him, but I don't have him to like say, what do you think?
Oh, I think, and it's the littlest things, right? It's like, well, it's parenting. Parenting is probably, because I can do the car stuff. I can do, I've got lots of individuals who I can tap into. But I think it's the moments where I go, I need to dial a dad. And luckily I'm blessed with some amazing friends, and I just send a message and say, bro, I'm just dialing a dad right now. I need a dad wisdom, because I'm feeling really out of my depth, and I'm feeling really vulnerable, and I'm feeling like if I mess this up, like this is such a pivotal time right now. If I mess this up, this could really mess up my child's next steps. Yeah, it is overwhelming. Luckily, we bought our house together, and but now I'm walking into this new stage of life for my kids and for me, and without his voice of wisdom and his calm voice. That's one thing he brought. He took my crazy. He took my crazy and he put his calm. And would often say, just calm down. I know this doesn't always sound good, but you just say, just calm down. Like, actually, it's going to be okay. I don't hear that anymore from anyone. And that's hard. Yeah.
So when you were saying that, it just triggered a thought for me. What do you think, as we come from a Christian foundation, what do you think the church can do better to walk with people through whatever their season, whatever it may be, their life, for single people, for single parents, for people grieving? Like, what does the church need to do? Like, I know you can't answer all this, but like, what would you like to see our church do better, or all churches, to help people navigate? Because you're saying, I have, like, thankfully you have friends, like, I'm dialing a dad, but it's just like, everyone doesn't have that.
Correct. I think what you are speaking of, is the global state of loneliness. Like we just, and I say global because it's everywhere, that people are lonely in church, in their relationship, in their lack of friends, in their lack of community. And, as you were asking that question, I had to, internally go, but Lorraine, so, I've got a question, like, it'd be great if the church had, all adult males could be the great dad supports. And yet we know that churches harbor abusers. So in my head, I'm like, but Lorraine, is that safe? Is this safe? Do we put all men in that position? Is it best for them? Or, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what do churches do? I think churches need to be better. And this is in general churches, not any specific denomination.
Right.
Needs to be better at acknowledging and calling out the crap, right? Right? Just straight up. Need to be better at acknowledging it, wiser and seeing it, and creating layers of support. So never just one pastor has to do it all, or counseling and marrying people and all that stuff.
Right.
But that you have layers of wise people, and that comes from a place of deep humbleness to be able to say, I can't do this, but I know Lorraine is amazing at working with single women, right? So we're going to get Lorraine. It's creating your team, whether you be and so every church should have a diverse ministry leadership group that creates spaces of connectedness, whatever that looks like, social, and like we were saying yesterday when you and I were talking, why does the Bible talk about widows so much? Like there is something deeply heartbreaking and sad in widowhood. And the gospel actually is full of that dark sadness as well. It's acknowledging it. It's and it's not just once, like you see it right through scripture, Old Testament, including, Ruth and Naomi, and that. And my simple thing would be, I don't know. What do churches do? I don't know what they should do. But I think you start by acknowledging that there is deep pain and deep loss in every individual.
Brushing and not brushing that aside.
Yeah. And not just being happy. Oh, happy Sabbath. It's actually,
You're so funny. Okay, well, I could talk to you forever. I think we can't do that. But I'm going to ask you maybe to talk about like one thing that you really want to say, and then I'm going to ask you a kind of a final question.
Okay.
So what do you want to, what is it that you want to say to people who are watching, to people who know you, who don't know you, people who are going through what you are? I know specifically I had someone reach out who, lost their husband in November of 2022. So they haven't reached the year point yet. And so what would you like to say?
Probably be brave. Be brave. You are not responsible for how other people take your pain. So if it's going to bubble out and spew out and you're going to ugly cry in the middle of the supermarket, do it. There's no shame in it. It's actually, that is what the humanity needs, is that vulnerability of just crying and letting all that, this pain. So be brave, do it. I acknowledge the steps, acknowledge today I feel like this. Today I need to eat ice cream all day. Today I need, acknowledge it, notice what you need. I suppose in that noticing it would be to, in a mature sense, is to know that how you navigate this time. If you have kids, for example, specifically if you have children of any age, how you navigate this will impact them.
Mm-hmm.
I am forever grateful for a really good friend who reached out probably in those first few days. And he said, Julene, get counseling. You get counseling and get your kids counseling. When his mother passed away, that was not on the cards for an Adventist family back in the 80s. You know, counseling was not acceptable. And that had created a cycle of just struggling through grief in his life. And so we did, all three of us. My big boy has yet to go through that and enter that, and I'll continue challenging him. But get into a space, whatever counseling looks like to you, whether it be jiu-jitsu, basketball, like get with people who love you. I went through therapy. I still go to, you know, when I feel really like I need to give her a call. I need to book in. I just need to offload this and have my feelings validated. You know, like actually someone wise listening and saying that is normal. What you're feeling is okay. My daughter has enjoyed and appreciated some wisdom from beautiful people, and including a counselor she sees regularly now. And it's not just about dads, but being a teenager, really.
Right. Yeah.
Let's be honest. So don't be afraid to do that.
I kind of love therapy, actually. I haven't been in a long time, and I'm like, I need to go back because there's some things I need to talk about. But like, man,
absolutely.
And also, I'm a social worker, so I was on the other side of that too.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I just think it's so important. That's great. That's great.
To verbalize or and just to verbally process, because you might walk in saying this or feeling this way, but by the end of it, you have a different perspective, a new perspective. I think more people should have the opportunity, and it could be a small group. You know, it could be a great friend. I'm lucky to have lots of social workers and counselors and educators in my life, and they all like talking and listening. So, you know, it's a great opportunity. The beginning of each year, I choose a phrase. Some people choose a word. I've chosen phrases that kind of are my motto for the year. And the year probably about 4 years before it already passed away, I chose a word or the phrase of stand firm. And it actually comes from a Bible passage from Ephesians 6. So it's the preamble to the full armor of God. And it talks about, you know, put on the full armor of God. But when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. So that was my, like, pre-COVID, that was my motto and verse, and had no idea that the years, the next few years, how much God had placed that in my path, requiring that. This year, the phrase that was put on my heart is not a scriptural phrase. It's a Māori whakatauki. It's tu whitia te hopo. And what it means quite literally in English is feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Mm.
Um,
Come on, come on, come on. Yes.
Te whitia te hopo, when that verse passage like just boom dropped in my mind, I realized that in this pain and ugly grief, I'm going to keep moving. I've got 3 kids who call me mum. I have a grandbaby. I have people I love. This is an uncomfortable, living is uncomfortable, but this walking in grief is uncomfortable. Do it anyway. And I have to come back to that quite often, but it has been quite a gift to, feel the pain, feel the fear, but do it anyway. So that's probably my.
I love that. I said I only had one other question, but I actually have. How has I mean, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
I was just watching a podcast and the guy was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to store your time." And they had been on there for 2 hours. And he was like, "Yeah, I kind of," and he was like, "Well, how was the longest time, like the longest?" Because they just do it like, he's like, "Oh, we had someone here for 4 hours." I was like,
whoa.
And people stay, like people go live and they watch like hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. We're not going to do 4 hours today. But how has this impacted your faith?
It's been rocked. Absolutely rocked. I don't, Rodi was such a grounded man of simple faith, and that's not in a negative way at all. He just had such a pure and clear, he walked with God. Like, I just think Abraham, I think Enoch, he just, I deeply honor that in him. I did not share that. I was rocked by the smallest thing and could get really annoyed. And when our kids were little, it was easy to have the routine of church attendance and engagement. And then my own faith journey took me out of working in the Seventh Adventist employment. And the last 10 years, I've been employed elsewhere and have been gifted knowledge, Indigenous knowledge, that has embedded my faith in a very different way, and also set me free in many ways from the denominational and church religious guidelines,
traditions and
conditions. That's a good word. So the last 5-10 years have created these spaces where I could be far more free to openly discuss and share what faith was for me. So when losing Rodu has really again rocked that for me, the church attendance, which has always been linked in our church with salvation, but with a faith. I think with my kids being older, I have had to accept the path, the forked path in faith, where you are very much a part of their faith journey up to a certain point, and then you almost stand on the side of the bridge and wave because you really hope
they have to make their choices.
Yeah. And I think it's the timing. It's the timing because Rodi was such a part of it. He was such a beautiful faith. And so not having him to give that to them has made me, that's probably the one thing that's made me really angry. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm like, and James, where he talks about getting thrown to and fro by the waves, that's me. That was not Rodu. He was so clear. So yeah, that's just the reality now.
Yeah. Well, can I say that maybe that's not something you have to fear, because they had him for, they weren't like 2 or 3. So it's like they were, even if they may not manifest that now or be, demonstrating, he like planted that in them.
Absolutely.
16, 18 years. And you don't know when that's going to just like show up. You're going to be like, oh, wow, there it is. There he is. Like, there's that faith. So no, that's
so true. Yeah.
So my final question is, this is painful. This is horrible. This is terrible. I was supposed to say this at the beginning, I told you, but like, I woke up on what was July 30th for me. And I don't even know what time or whatever. I don't have all of that. I was on Facebook and I saw a post from Kofi. He's a mutual friend of ours. And it was just a picture of Roru, and it said, rest in peace until I see you again, brother.
Yes.
And that month had already been horrible. And I was like my brain was not processing that at all. Like, I'm just like, if this is a joke, it's like a really terrible joke. And I know Kofi, and he would, and I'm just like, what? Like, I can't. And so I like messaged him, and I'm just like, what are you saying? And he told me, and I was just kind of, I could not believe it. And so even when you're not married to someone, you just know them and you love them, and they've been in your life, it's painful, and just it's like wow. So my question for you is, when you met Roru, if you knew that you would only get to love him for 1 year, be with him for 1 year, like that was it, and then he would pass, would you still have chosen?
That's such a good question. Yes, but we would have made different, that 1 year would look different if we knew that it would, at such and such a time, everything would finish. How we spent that year, we would pack everything in, we would not start having children, like, so, if I knew, like, without a doubt, fact that when I signed the marriage deal that July 31, 2022, he would leave the deal, would I still do it? Absolutely. And I think I have to know deep in my heart that we actually have to live life that way.
Yes.
Because death reminds us that it is temporary. Death reminds us is, oh, I didn't know, we can't be surprised. Like, that wasn't part of the deal. It is. It is. It is part of the deal. It's not going to end the way we want it. Oh, Vicky. We have to accept that it's going to end. Yeah. If you knew it was going to be 1 year, yeah, definitely do things differently. Knowing it's 20 years, go back, because I think we talked about regret at one stage. Do I regret things? Man, we all regret things. We look back and go, I shouldn't have been such, so silly about the the shoes and where they sit and how they look, and been so picky about things. But let's be honest, that's us, and we have grown as humans throughout this time, and I'm at peace with where we were as a couple, and in grounded love and mutually respect as co-parents and people, and I have to be at peace with that. Yeah. Awesome. I there are regrets, but I guess you can't ever change any of that. So you just have to go, okay, how do I move forward? What will I do differently in my relationships? Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful, because I think that ultimately what you're saying, and we know that it's true, that there's going to be death, there's going to be loss, there's going to be other kinds of terrible things that happen in life. But if you lived trying to avoid those things, you would live miserably and still run into those things.
Yes, 100%.
And so 100%. You have to not just live and exist in the state that you're in. You have to embrace it. And that's not always easy. But even in the darkest darkness, there's light if you look for it.
There's light, there's joy.
Darkness, you'll only find darkness, but if you look for light, you find it.
Absolutely, Lorraine. And it's not even, I think people who don't even have a faith understand that, like you find what you look for, the kind of people you look for, the kind of, like, if you just, whatever example pops into your mind, that's probably true. Whatever you look for, you find. And the world needs more laughter. It needs more joy. It needs more song. It needs more celebration of each other's little achievements. It needs more sharing, more hope, more caring, more, there's just, so live in that, because your little light, your little community, your little space, whatever it is, can be a little bit brighter, and it can make a difference for someone. Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Oh.
I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you opening up and your vulnerability. You got, I haven't shown you all the comments, but you have a lot of friends.
Gabe
is on here, and then
thanks, Kristen.
Yeah. And we've actually had more people on here live than ever.
Amen. Well, keep watching Lorraine. She's the bomb.
So, yeah. But I thank you for this, because I know there are people who are experiencing that and they're learning, but also people who may be experiencing some other darkness that's not death. And it's like a lot of what you said is true for us or them too.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah.
That we can take those lessons and remember that, God is with us, and we don't understand death, and we don't understand a lot of stuff that he allows to happen. And that's just true. like, I believe in God, I love God, and I have faith, but there's a lot of stuff he does, and I'm just like, I mean, for real, why? And this was one of those things. I'm just like, are you are you kidding me right now? But
yeah.
And the reality is, we will not understand. We were talking before we got on that our brains aren't even created to understand death for real.
No. I was gonna say, Lorraine, just to the faith thing. When I say it rocked my faith, it rocked what my expression of faith looked like. Right? But what didn't change was that I believe wholeheartedly that God is real, that God has a plan for my life, that God is active in my life, and that the things that the sadness and grief that happens in this world is not the hand of God.
Right.
And I have to believe that. Now, I might be proved completely wrong in 100 years or whatever, whenever it all happens, but I choose to live believing that.
And I choose to live believing that too.
Amen. Yep.
And so we praise God for that. And the reality is that he walks with us through the darkness. And that's why there's light. Even in the darkness, it's because of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. We want to shout out Julene's parents because we know they're watching.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Julene's dad for subscribing. I just want to read this scripture here. We like to end with the word Revelation 21:1. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I'm not sure why I'm crying now, but for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also, there was no more sea. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things are passed away.
Amen.
Anticipate and look forward to that day. But until then, we want to walk with each other so that when there is pain, we share that with them. Don't avoid, don't run away. Just walk with. You don't have to say anything because sometimes you're gonna say the wrong thing. So don't say anything. Yeah. Just walk with that person, hug them, sit with them, be with them, and that will be the thing that they need. We thank you all so much for joining and for staying with us. And I am going to say good night to you. There were some other things I'm going to say, but I'm going to save that for next week. We're going to end right here and say good night. And until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless you.
Amen. Love you, Lorraine. Bye.
Love you. Okay, I'm not sure why I can't. Why am I not?